Dr. Kendall Crowns is joining us, Chief Medical Examiner, Tarrant County, that's Fort Worth, lecturer, University of Texas, Austin, and Texas Christian University Medical School. Dr. Crowns, thank you so much for being with us and taking time away from, oh my stars, I guess now over 10,000 autopsies you have performed. Could you explain, because I know this is going to be attacked in court, how hair is found, a third person's hair, not the victim's hair, on the victim's body, or, for instance, in a burlap bag in which the victim's body is encased? How exactly is that done in a way that holds up under attack in court?
So, as I'm sure you're aware, everybody sheds a certain amount of hair every day, and it gets on surfaces, on your clothes, in your car.
No, I'm not aware. I don't know anything about shedding hair. Tell me.
Okay, well, everybody every day loses a certain amount of hair. It's just a natural course of life. Everybody sheds a little bit of their hair as they go about the day, as you comb your hair, etc. So you have it on your clothes, you have it in your car, you have it on surfaces about your house. When someone gets murdered in an area where your hair fibers are at, their blood can stick to that hair and it gets stuck to their body. Also, when the individual is being murdered, they may grab at your hair and pull it out of your head, and it gets on their body as well. If it's a third person, say his wife in this particular case, her hair is in the house where these sex workers are at, her hair can be transferred onto them and then carried out. So hair is one of those fibers that can easily get mixed onto a body just through the natural course of events.
So we shed 50 to 100 hairs a day that we know of. And I also want to point out, John Ray, I hope you're sitting down, John Ray, high-profile lawyer. The lawyers in this case are getting $400,000 and $200,000, respectively, in court. That's $500,000. That's a lot of money.
Sure is.
Okay, go ahead, please.
Yeah, no, I mean, the lawyers not only are getting paid, they're getting paid to do something that walks a very thin line of unethical behavior.
In
because
what way?
They're exposing their client to possible prosecution, and they're exposing their client at least to assisting her in convicting her husband.
You mean by allowing the Peacock documentary to go forward, if you could call it that, but allowing...
Yeah, and to get paid for it by a third party. They're not getting paid by Ellerup. They're getting paid by a third party.
So
guys, who is
their
client?
Not only is there $1 million deal and a silver Mercedes somehow has weaseled into this scenario, but there's also a GoFundMe. Take a listen to this.
The daughter of the happy-faced killer, Keith Jesperson, set up a GoFundMe for Ellerup to help her do just that. So far, over $56,000 has been raised. Some victims' families have criticized the fundraiser. Sources tell news agencies that filming has already begun and will continue throughout the as-yet unscheduled trial and its aftermath. Film crews were seen trailing the family to Heuermann's recent arraignment.
Wow, and speaking of the recent arraignment, remember that Asa Ellerup has not been visiting her husband at all, 0 times behind bars, until this. Listen.
Asa Ellerup, wife of suspected Long Island serial killer, shows up to visit him in jail, then comes to a hearing. Both the first since his arrest in July, and many wonder if she will continue to show up for her husband of 27 years. Ellerup's divorce attorney confirmed that Ellerup wants to see the court proceedings for herself. Rex Heuermann is caught staring directly at his estranged wife in a recent court hearing. WPIX reports Heuermann cast a sharp glance to his right, where Ellerup is sitting with her lawyer and a person from NBC Peacock. While Heuermann is looking at her, Fox News reports Ellerup's expression is a slight smile in response.
Exchanging smiles in the courtroom, $1 million deal in the works, a silver Mercedes, driving her around. What's happening next? Plus a GoFundMe that is raising more money by the day, while the husband, Rex Heuermann, is behind bars being fed Italian sausage, green beans, whipped potatoes, seasoned veggies, and macaroni salad. Okay, Joining me right now, a special guest, Keith Jesperson, author of The Story of You, that's YU, and podcast host of, and I didn't understand this at first, or now, The Lighter Side of Serial Killers. And you were sent Rex Heuermann's letter by the smiley face killer. Is that correct, Keith Jesperson?
Yes. Thank you for having me on the show. It's a blessing to be a part of it. I have known Keith for a few years now. Part of my show
First of all,
is...
who is Keith?
Keith Jesperson, the Happy Face Killer. He's been on my podcast probably 10 times or so. And Rex isn't the first serial killer that he has written. Last week I had the serial
that
killer...
when you say Rex, you are on a first-name basis with the two serial killers?
Well, Rex Heuermann, I've never talked to. I've never corresponded with him at all. Keith had asked me for his address in prison, or in jail, where he's at now. So I sent him that. Wayne Adam Ford, another serial killer just on my podcast, received a letter from Keith also years ago. Author Shawcross, Charles Manson, he's written numerous people. One of the reasons he gave me the letter is like the Manson letter. The Charles Manson letter I received was stolen out of his cell. So he didn't want that letter stolen. So he sent it to me. There's a trust factor built up. I've known him for many years. The other reason he sent it to me, I was going to be on the Dateline special, was just released on Rex Heuermann last week. They decided to cut this letter out. I didn't own the letter at that point. They heard about the letter, and they decided to not air that portion on the show. They want to focus more on the victims. Rightfully so. Came out great. Well, Keith found out about that. Keith Jesperson. And I told him, I'm not going to be part of the show. The letter's not going to be part of the show. They want to focus on the victims. That upset him. And so he said, I'm also going to send you this letter so you can show one of the producers who wanted me on the show, I think Julie Kimmer's her name, he was upset. He's like, oh, they think I'm lying because I lied to the press, years ago. When I first got arrested.
No, it's because you're a serial killer. That's why nobody believes them.
Of course. But that was a trust factor. He didn't want the letter stolen. And show it to Dateline NBC saying, hey, look, I'm not a liar. Here's the letter. Here's the letter.
Okay, I'm sorry. Hold on. Don't care. And I don't mean that in an evil, hateful way, but I don't care that a serial killer is angry that he didn't make Dateline. Just could not care any less than I do. But speaking of the happy face killer, who apparently has struck up a pen pal relationship with Rex Heuermann, do I have to quote my grandmother? Birds of a feather flock together. Okay, there, I said it. Take a listen to our cut 252. Who is the happy face killer?
In the early 90s, Keith Jesperson was a long-haul truck driver who liked to kill women. When someone else took credit for one of his murders, he started sending letters to the media and police with information only the killer would know. He put a happy face on each of his letters and was dubbed the Happy Face Killer. In prison for life since 1995, the Happy Face Killer is becoming pen pals with suspected Long Island serial killer Rex Heuermann. The Daily Mail reports that Jesperson wrote a letter to Heuermann encouraging him to confess and offering some advice. Rex Heuermann reportedly writes back, thanking the Happy Face Killer for the advice, and then complains about the food in jail and the exercise yard.
Sydney, please get me some more menus from the jail. Because you know what? I'm making fish fillets tonight, the kind you get frozen, and they have a little breading on it because the twins love them. They think they're having fish. Okay, so I think I would do a backflip if somebody came in and had prepared, and I've got to hear more, Italian sausage, green beans, whipped potatoes, seasoned veggies, and macaroni salad. I'm sure that there's a dessert in there. And these two are complaining about the food behind bars. I mean, what are they talking about with each other, Keith?
One thing I think is very telling. Sometimes it's what's not in a letter or what somebody does not say in writing that.
Like how they tortured, raped, and murdered unarmed and defenseless women once they lured them and got them alone and then overpowered them by girth and weapons.
Yes, and also the fact what he did not say is, I did not do it. I am not guilty. I get a sense of like peace about this, like acceptance, like, yeah, they got me. I wonder what the food's going to be. I didn't get a sense of any of that, hey, I'm not guilty. What do I do? What do I do? I definitely did not do this. Nothing. It's almost a calmness when you read that letter of, it just screams guilt to me just by reading it.
Hold on just a moment. You're absolutely right. Nowhere do they claim, I didn't do this, I'm being railroaded. Sydney, how dare you point out to me that you had already sent me that information. Okay, here we go. For breakfast, chilled grape juice, hot cinnamon oatmeal, toast, margarine, milk, coffee, sugar. Okay, hot wheat cereal, blah, 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 crispy rice cereal, hard-cooked eggs. That's just for breakfast. Wait for it. Is this lunch or dinner? Lunch. Beef cacciatore with spaghetti, steamed green beans, bread and butter, Hawaiian beverage, applesauce, and, for the vegans, meatless pepper steak. Okay, I mean, here's one of my faves. This is for lunch. Tomato soup, cream of tomato, and grilled cheese sandwich. It's like Mother is cooking your meal. Barbecue chicken, white rice, Creole bean sauce. I mean, it goes on and on. Why is that irritating me so much, Joe Jackalone?
Well, it actually shows you that we treat our prisoners a lot better than what some of the activists have been telling us for years. And it's just something that,
I think it's something else. I'm not listening to the activists lying on the courthouse steps. It's the fact that these guys, I mean, how hard is it, Dr. Bethany Marshall? You're the shrink. And I hated doing this to juries, but I did it every murder trial. I made them think. Now, it's actually against the law, constitutionally, for them to put themselves in the shoes of the victim. That's disallowed in most jurisdictions. But I would force them to think about what the victims went through. Let's just think about this. And Dr. Bethany, Charlie Langston, DailyMail, superstar, everybody on the panel jump in if I'm missing anything. A lady is lured to be alone with Rex Heuermann, who's like, what, 6'5", weighs about 300, at least a deuce and a quarter.
6'4".
Oh,
6'4", and he weighs 280 pounds.
That's less than I thought. So she's alone with him, and he begins to rape her vaginally and anally, and during that, torturing her and beating her until he strangles her dead. Some of the victims, of which I suspect him, dismembered. They never, what are their last thoughts as they're getting raped and they're passing out? Just imagine that moment that this is happening. Will they ever see their children again? Will they ever see their family again? Or is this it? And then they die. And this guy is getting cream and tomato soup and a grilled cheese sandwich.